Hi everyone. For my first discussion video, I chose to cover eBay and their attempt to move into the Chinese market in 2003. In July of 2003, eBay acquired a company called EachNet based in China for $180 million. And by 2005, they had exited the Chinese market completely. So in 2 short years, they had given up. And a lot of people associate this exit with competition from two Chinese companies, one called Taobao and one that is familiar to many people called Alibaba. And a lot of their exit can be associated to Taobao's better understanding of the Chinese market and the wants and needs there. But in my research, I did find 3 informational system choices that eBay made that certainly contributed to their exit so quickly. The first is payment. When eBay went into China, they used PayPal, which is a payment system that was unfamiliar and certainly not widely used in China. The other aspect of payment, there are 2 of them that would have influenced their success there. eBay set up their system to only allow for auctions, of course. We're all familiar with that. The highest bidder would win. In China at the time, most shopping was done with bargaining. If you didn't buy something at whole price, you bargained back and forth with an individual or with a business. And once you came to an agreeable price, you bought it for that. And eBay did not have that, and their competitors, especially Taobao, did. And then finally, within the payment realm, eBay only allowed for payment electronically when you won an auction, whereas their competitors allowed for payment upon delivery. So if someone was unable to make an electronic payment, they were unable to use eBay, whereas all of their online competitors at the time allowed you to pay for your good or your service when it was delivered to your home with actual currency, so allowing for a wider market penetration. Another informational system choice they made was messaging. eBay at the time only allowed you to contact a seller through email, and then vice versa. The seller could only contact that potential buyer by emailing them back. And the Chinese, I think, in my research, I found they were used to having real-time communication and actual instant messenger service with that business or that seller at the time. So they chose not to have that. And then the real killer for eBay is that in 2004, after purchasing EachNet, they moved their technological profile and all EachNet user profiles to the US. So the platform was actually moved to the US eBay platform as opposed to maintaining a separate Chinese one. And reports I saw that half of all users on EachNet dropped in a single day, the day after that migration was moved. So what had before been an internal exchange of information became essentially an international border crossing with every person who logged into eBay. In addition to the international aspects of that, the web page speed dropped significantly as the Chinese put up a firewall, with this coming from a US-based website. And as many people are familiar with, the Chinese government actually blocked a lot of traffic. And additionally, the infrastructure in between the United States and China was not as good back in the early 2000s. So web speed was very, very slow. And then finally, all development and implementation and updates that had to go onto the eBay website took more than a year for all of their projects. So even small updates now based on infrastructure, based on handling like foreign government and the Chinese firewall and government, any small update to the website would take more than a year. So in my mind, while eBay did a lot right leading up to their Chinese launch and purchasing a local established brand, and when they had purchased EachNet, they had more than 2 million users and up to 85% of the market share on online auctions in China. They also used a lot of local advertising. They made some informational system mistakes. They definitely should have used local payment methods. Maybe not using PayPal right away, but trying to build a user base and then using PayPal as opposed to forcing their own internal system. They could have created a user interface that local users were more familiar with and wanted, including a real-time messaging service, but also allowing for local buying customs by using bargaining instead of auctions. And then the biggest thing would have definitely been maintaining a local tech platform. Keeping their users based in China, in the country where they were, not having to deal with infrastructure going back and forth between the two countries, and certainly not having to deal with the Chinese government monitoring and firewalling all communication. So thank you.